with reparations. It demanded Germany pay tremendous sums of money for the war, paying to rebuild France, paying the debt the European countries owed to America. It punished Germany by destroying the nation's proud armed forces. The army was to be a fraction of its pre-war strength and would be deprived of its most modern weapons. The settlement did not destroy Germany as a threat or as a rival. It merely provided Germany with yet new grievances. The new map of Europe created a patchwork of small, weak countries on Germany's eastern border. Countries with which Germany now had scores to settle. Versailles kept the war alive in the mind of every German. In a Germany resentful of history. In a Germany suffering endless economic crisis after economic crisis. A movement and a leader arose that gave voice to those resentments and promised action. A movement that promised rescue. A leader who promised redemption and renewal of German destiny. Hitler and the Nazis rose to power through the structures of German democracy and then abolished those same freedoms. Nazi Germany proceeded to systematically destroy the Versailles Treaty and the structure it defined for Europe. All over the continent and all over the world, the pace of change, the flow of events accelerated. Japan began on a path to militaristic rule based on a belief in Japanese racial supremacy. The Second World War really beginning perhaps in 1937, with Japan's brutal, furious and avaricious attack upon China. War returned to Europe in Spain as the Civil War tore the nation limb from limb, the fires of war fueled by the extremes of fascism and communism, with the democracies standing in impotent neutrality. The second fascist power in Europe, Italy, embarked on a war of conquest annihilating the independent African country of Abyssinia. The lesson to the world was that violence was the means to the end and would be unopposed. Hitler rearmed the German nation, turning with hungry and aggressive eyes to his weaker neighbors. Germany was united with Austria, a move that made Germany even stronger. The democracies were torn. America retreated behind the oceans in isolation. France, in cynical defeatism, built the Maginot Line as a shield against aggression, but feared to renew the war. Britain had no desire for war and saw justice in Hitler's demands. The democracies aimed to resolve the problem of Germany without resorting to war. They were to use diplomacy, negotiation and fair compromise. Appeasement. It is the autumn of 1938, and Hitler has turned his gaze to Czechoslovakia. A conference of nations is called in Germany at Munich. After the Anschluss, Europe knew that something else was going to happen. Czechoslovakia was going to be that something else. In October 1938, the leaders of the great powers of Europe gathered at Munich for what was perhaps the first modern summit meeting. This was no stately diplomatic conference held in a palace.